Okay, welcome to the show. Oh my gosh, I am so excited about today. I can hardly stand it. I have a very special guest on today, and this is for everyone to listen to, but specifically, I would say a demographic between the ages of 13 and 22 are going to really, really dig my guest. Everybody beyond that age should be listening to this podcast so that you can get educated. So let me welcome Natalie Hills to the podcast. How are you, sweetheart?
I'm thriving.
You are.
Yeah,
You're so
I'm so
excited to be here.
excited about this. Yeah.
I am too. I'm really excited about it. And you're just adorable. Your whole like
Aw,
face, you have like all this glow about you.
thank you.
So let me just give the listeners a little bit of an idea of how we kind of came to be on this. So Natalie is 13 and she is, what are you, eighth grade?
Yeah, going into eighth grade.
Going into eighth grade. Okay. And she is the daughter of our dear friends, Jason and Elizabeth Hills. And you probably know, Natalie, how, your dad and
They're frat brothers,
they are
frat bros, if you will.
They are. Well, he does, Ryan says we can't call it frat. We have to call it fraternity.
A very dignified fraternity that got shut down recently.
Yes, exactly.
That's
We're
what
not
they
going
meant.
to talk about that. So many, many years ago, I feel like they have been best friends for maybe 25 years, 20,
Yeah, no, yeah.
almost 30. Yep. So I met your dad way back right before he started dating your mom, Elizabeth.
Yeah.
And we all hung out together. I was dating Ryan, my husband, and your mom came into the picture. Your dad was dating someone else. I remember that, and that didn't work out. And then here comes your mom. And it was like a magnet. We instantly became best friends, like we'd known each other forever. And your mom's, quite a bit younger than I am. And so I don't know, 13 years maybe, I don't know what she is now.
I don't remember either. It's fine.
But we just became so connected.
Yeah.
And then your mom helped me through, you may not even know this, but I had a miscarriage, and it was right at the time that your mom was pregnant with you. And it was really hard because we were going to be
Really sorry.
pregnant together. Oh, thank you, honey. That's sweet. So your mom and I had a really close bond. Your parents were both in our wedding. And I mean, this is long before you came along. So here comes Natalie, and you come just bursting into the scene. And my feeling about you from the first time I met you is I just knew like this girl is going to be, something big is going to happen for her in her life. Like she's an influencer.
Aw.
You're a changer. You're
Aw.
a change agent, I would call it.
Oh my goodness. Thank you.
You're welcome. But it's true. So
Oh,
I just felt this connection with you as of late when we started talking about the podcast, because you listen all the time.
I do.
I mean, to all the episodes. You're really good.
Yep.
You're a really good fan too. Like you send me
I
little
am.
notes, and you're such a good
Always
supporter.
swiping up on them stories.
Yes, and you're a supporter. And I know that you talk about the podcast to your friends, which is really
I do.
exciting.
Yeah.
So thank you for doing that. So we were together not too long ago, and you and I started talking about the LGBTQ plus community, and you were just dialed in. And I know that you are into this whole community. You were just dialed into the terminology, to the things that are kind of missing right now with people that don't understand the community, who think that if they aren't in the community, that they don't need to be an ally. They don't need to understand
Right.
the language, the terminology, right? So I looked at you and I was like, Natalie, Come be on the show.
And I was instantly overjoyed and filled to the brim with determination and passion.
You're so sweet. So you're 13 going on 30, just in case everybody is wondering.
Going on 80, to be honest.
I mean, geez, you are definitely a very awakened 13-year-old. And I was telling you before we got on here that I definitely was not anything like you at 13. So that's why I'm just so excited to see what you're going to do in this life. You know, it's going to be great to watch. So I think we've got a few things to talk about today. I want people to listen to the entirety of the podcast, because if you're tuning in right now and you're thinking, oh, okay, this doesn't have anything to do with me, it doesn't apply, guess again, right?
It does. I promise it does.
It does. It is your responsibility, our responsibility as a nation, as a community, to understand the separateness and judgment and shame and stigma that goes along with the 3 pillars of our podcast, right? Mental health, right? Addiction, and the LGBTQ plus community. All individual things, but also within the community,
they come together.
It all comes together.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I want people to listen to this. I want you to get educated. I know I'm going to get educated. I mean, even I'm going to get educated, you know, and I am excited for that, to understand how we can best support those that are in that community, which is, you know, it's very near and dear to my heart, obviously, because my son is gay and my son struggles with mental health issues and addiction. So he's got the whole trifecta, right? And I can't wait for you to meet him at some point. I feel like
I know, it's really funny. We haven't ever met.
You've never met. Yeah. I mean, the times that he's been, you know, good, he's been clean and sober. I really want you to meet him because first of all, he would love your passion for makeup because he's into that.
Yes.
I mean, he would love it. I want you guys to meet at some point, but anyway, so when I asked you to be on the show, first of all, how'd you feel about that?
I was so excited. I've never been on a podcast before at the ripe age of 13. Who would believe I've never been on a podcast? I was like, yes, like I'm a very passionate person. I have a lot to share. And so I was very excited to like get to channel that. And also I love you. So.
Oh, I love you too. When you say that you're a passionate person, like what is it that like what are you passionate about specifically?
So many things. In this context, it's about like just loving people and being accepting towards everyone, because I believe that's very important. And I just like when there's something that I'm like passionate about and believe, I like want to talk your ear off about it and tell you all the reasons that I believe that. So that I'm a very passionate person in a sense that like when I really like something, I want to like learn everything about it and like tell you all about it. Like, another thing I'm really passionate about is like historical fashion. So like I like buy textbooks and like I'm so annoying to watch like historical period dramas with. I'm like, that is wrong. You know, they did that wrong. The dress is disgusting. I need you to get it off my and like I'm really annoying to watch them with, but I'm very passionate about that too.
I love it.
Like I just am I want to fully envelop myself within something when I'm passionate about it.
So you could be a lobbyist, you could be an attorney, you could be an advocate for the mental health community. I mean, there's so many things. What do you want to do? You probably don't.
I want to be, either an actress or a historical fashion professor, because I'm that into historical fashion.
Wow. That is so random, but I love it.
I know, it's random.
You would be a great actress, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, for sure. So, okay, so you thought, wow, this is going to be great. And when I said to you, you were like, well, what are we going to talk about? Right. And
I mean, we're both straight cis, which is straight heterosexual, and cis is short for cisgender, meaning that we identify with the gender that we were assigned, or the sex we were assigned at birth.
Yes. And that's why I was like, well, if what you just said is the reason why you're on the podcast.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, so let's educate people. Now, I want to tell you a story about something really quick
Okay.
while you're thinking about this. So I was having dinner with with not really, I don't want to say they were friends because I didn't know them very well. Like they were new friends, right?
They're people.
They were people. And the topic of the podcast came up because the lady that we were there, we brought our husbands together, right? And the lady that was with me follows my podcast, and she was like asking me about it. She's
Mhm.
at dinner. She's like, "So tell me what this and that. Oh, how do you
Yeah,
get
yeah.
all these great guests? And um, God, the topics you have are so great." And her husband was like, "Oh, I don't think I know about your podcast, Dawn. What's it about?" So I start to tell him.
Yeah.
And immediately I see the body language when I get to the LGBTQ plus community. I see him kind of go, "Ooh,"
Ooh.
right? And so
Yeah.
I stop talking, and I read that, and I said, "Are you familiar with the community? Do you know who all is kind of in that
Yeah.
community in terms of like
Yeah.
the group?" Um, and he was like, "Well, yeah, but I feel like I really don't understand, especially like transgender people." And he kind of started to get a little he got a little amped up about it, right?
Yeah.
And my first reaction was I was mad because
Yeah.
I'm like, how can you be so
Right.
ignorant?
Yeah.
But then I was like, okay, Dawn, we need to practice love and compassion and kindness.
Yes.
And we need to just come from a place of love and understanding that he does not get it yet. So
Yeah.
we're gonna help educate him. And this is when I wish Natalie Hills was sitting with me at the table.
Yes. I would have went off on him. It would have been actually a problem. Kind of glad I wasn't there.
Well, you'll learn as you get older how to, harness that in and not, yeah.
Yep. Yep.
It's just going to take
It's
some
a
time.
process. It's a journey. It's
It's
a
a journey
journey.
for you. You're very young, so it's a journey. Okay, so in that scenario, let's pretend people that are listening right now are completely laymen. They don't understand any of this. Okay, so we are going to lay out the terminology,
Yes.
and just kind of the foundation so that people can understand this,
Right.
even though there are so many people that think this is super confusing. I do agree
Yep.
that some of it is confusing, but what I want to say is that just because it's confusing doesn't mean you don't take the initiative
Yep.
to learn it,
Yep.
right?
Mhm.
So Natalie is going to educate us, which I'm excited
Okay.
about. So let's
Yeah.
start off with the foundation.
Okay. So these are a couple of words I'm going to be using when I'm explaining that I think are kind of important to understand. So the first one is the term gender versus the term sex, which I previously heard used interchangeably, but they actually have slightly different definitions. That
Great.
took me a minute. So gender refers to someone's identity, so who they are on the inside, which is a spectrum. It can be male, female, or not male, female. It can be boy, girl, and it can also be somewhere in the middle. Sex is what we're used to hearing, which is male, female, and there's basically two. There's another one which I'll get to in just a second, but there's two, male, female. So when I use the words male and female, I'm referring to sex, and when I'm using the words boy, girl, woman, man, etc., I'm referring to gender. So someone's
Wow.
identity on the inside.
I'm so glad you laid that out because I would have been confused. Okay, perfect.
I heard it explained to me once and I was like, oh my goodness, that makes so much sense. I don't know why I didn't know that before. Anyways, so now do you want to hear about all the identities in the fun little acronym?
Yeah.
Okay, so
or did you want to talk about the non-binary and binary?
Oh yeah, so binary is the two categories that we have decided to that we have put people into.
Okay.
So the boxes of boy and girl, which aren't always true, as we'll come to find out, but that's binary, is the idea that there is one and there's two, and that is like binary.
Okay.
So we both identify within the binary. We both identify as girls, but there are people who identify outside the binary, which will happen. We'll talk about in a sec.
Okay.
So let's talk about all the identities in the acronym, and some of them aren't in the acronym. So the L and the G in the LGBTQ plus stand for lesbian and gay, which both refers to homosexual romantic relationships. So lesbian refers to specifically to women, and gay refers to any homosexual relationship, which doesn't really make sense. That it used to be more like gay was only men, but now you can, like, if there's two women who are in a romantic relationship, you can also call them gay.
Yep.
Anyways, that's just how it is. And then the B refers to bisexual, which is where someone is attracted to both men and women.
Mm-hmm.
And then the T stands for transgender, which in a nutshell means someone who identifies not with the sex that they were assigned at birth, if that makes any sense. So when they were born, they were assigned a sex, and that does not match their gender identity. Capiche?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I got it. Capiche.
So then Q stands for queer, which definitely used to be a derogatory term. It's not anymore. Now it is a good uplifting term, but it's a blanket statement. So anyone in the community, or if they're not sure where they fit, or even if they are, they just don't really feel like specifying, they can just say, I am queer, that's who I am.
Got it.
I'm in that community, but I don't really feel like telling you exactly where, you know?
Okay. I know somebody. I actually know somebody who is queer then. So now that you explained it to me, it makes perfect sense. Okay, perfect.
Yeah. And then there's plus at the end, which is a more inclusive way of saying it, because it used to just be, well, originally it was just the lesbian and gay community. And then it kind of became the LGBT, and now it's the LGBTQ plus, because there are more identities outside of that. So the next one I'm going to talk about is questioning, which is pretty simple. If you are questioning either your sexuality or your gender identity, so like if you're just like, I'm questioning, I don't really know. And then there's also I, which is the one that I was talking about earlier, within the like assigned at birth situation. So I stands for intersex, which is where when someone is born, their body does not fit into the binary of man or woman, or male and female. They kind of have a unique situation going on, and it's actually more common than you would think. I think it was like 2% of people. Anyways, it's not like this totally like 1 in a million thing. It's like, and then the next one is asexual, which is where someone does not experience sexual attraction. And within the asexual community, there's like 2 branches. There's asexual and aromantic. So an asexual person might want to pursue a romantic relationship, just not have sex. And then an aromantic person might only ever want platonic relationships. A good comparison that I heard for asexual people is like, an asexual person feels the way that a straight person feels about the same sex towards everyone. They're like, just don't want it.
Okay, got it. Oh, that's really good. And then there's more, right?
Yes. So, and then another one is non-binary. So I explained what binary means. It means the idea that there's only man and woman. A non-binary person is a person whose gender identity does not fit into those 2 categories. Someone who is outside of that spectrum. And a non-binary person would also technically be considered transgender, because they don't identify with the sex they were assigned at birth, but they oftentimes they'll label themselves as non-binary because transgender often refers to someone who switches binaries. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that actually does make sense. You're so good at explaining it.
Thank you.
Wow.
Okay. So that's non-binary, and oftentimes they'll use they, them pronouns, or there are lots of other pronouns that are being introduced, but the easiest ones to integrate into our language is they, them, because we already know how to use it grammatically. And a lot of people argue that they is only plural. And I disagree with this statement, because what would you say if someone left their phone? Someone left their phone there. I hope they find their phone. See, that's one person, but you're using it singularly.
I get it.
It does work. People really like to argue that it doesn't. I promise it does. Um, and then there's also gender fluid. So that's someone who would maybe kind of float between genders, accept more than just one set of pronouns, and doesn't identify necessarily within the binary, but they're not non-binary. Does that make any sense? It's just kind of, it's fluid, it's
Yeah.
fluidity.
Yes.
Audio listeners, you can't see, but I'm doing a little groovy dance.
Yeah. Good. Now let's talk about pronouns because that's important.
Okay. Yes. So there are three main sets of pronouns. As I briefly referred to, there are others that I'm not fully educated on, but mainly it is she, they, and he are the three main ones. I know
Okay.
there are others. Um,
Yes. Okay.
So she and he, that's what we're used to. But then they, like I already just explained, does make sense and can refer to a singular person. One of the very important things to do is to share your pronouns. Dawn, I am calling you out,
You
sister.
are. I
You
know.
don't have your pronouns on Instagram, and there's even a little pronoun feature now.
I'm gonna do it when we hang up. I'm doing it.
Okay, but okay. But what I think a lot of people will. Oh my goodness, my hair. I think a lot of people.
I need to do it on LinkedIn too.
Yeah, I think a lot of people will identify with this, and tell me if I'm wrong, but you might be thinking like, but people already know my pronouns. I present that way. It doesn't really, I don't need to share them. Is that kind of your thought process?
I think, yeah, I mean, that could be it. That could be what I'm thinking, but I do believe we need to normalize it.
Yeah. And destigmatize it. That's like one of your big podcast things with this podcast is like destigmatizing. So when someone identifies, especially outside the binary, but even within the binary, but they might not present necessarily that way, it's important to understand and respect their preferred pronouns because it's just respect,
It is, yeah. What do you typically see right now in your age group? Do you see a lot of, kids that are starting to identify with one thing or another and
Oh,
talk
for
about
sure.
it? Is it like
Oh,
really
yeah.
thin?
I
Okay.
mean, there's a gender and sexuality club at my school.
Wow.
There's, a ton of kids identify within the community. It's not an uncommon thing at my school. So, and the scary thing to me is, like the percentages they aren't higher where I am, but the percentages of people who are living their lives authentically and openly are. So like, just think like all the people at my school who are living their open and authentic lives, if they like lived in a different place where it wasn't as accepted, would be living in the closet maybe. And like that makes me really sad.
Yeah, it makes me sad too. And I'll tell you one thing that's really interesting is I just wish that the school system, the public school system, when Cole was your age or younger, was in a different place because we were here in Portland when he was your age, and younger is when he started getting bullied. So he was bullied. Let's see, I would say it started when he was around 6 or 7. Like that's young.
Yeah.
And I didn't really know that he was getting bullied until, I started paying attention at some point in there, but I think I just didn't think he would be bullied, and actually the bullying is what, really started in on the mental health, right? That's where it kind of triggered all of the things. And I think to myself, like, if he could have been your age and be at your school, well, first of all, you guys would be best friends. I already know it. But I mean, if he could be like back, your age now in school when things are now, people are talking about it, not as much.
It's a conversation.
Yeah, but it's like that. I think it would have changed everything for him.
Yeah.
I really do.
And that was only like 20 less. It was like recently. Like
he's 20.
It's changed so much even in the last like 15 years.
Yes, exactly. You're saying from when you
from when he was there when I'm here.
Yeah, it's crazy to me.
I'd love to loop back around and just finish up my little thing about pronouns. So good place to share it also is when you're introducing yourself to people. So if you're like, hi, I'm Natalie, my pronouns are she, her, it takes like maybe a little bit of breath. You're fine. You're not going to die if you share them. And you're just putting on the table and making other people more comfortable. Um, and it's just, I think it's just a good thing to do.
Oh, you might be making people uncomfortable too, but who cares?
Well, they're the people that need to feel a little bit of discomfort, you know? But the people who need
Exactly.
the comfort are getting the comfort there, you know?
Exactly. It's such a good point.
Yeah. So add it to your Instagram bio, girly girl.
I'm going to do it when we hang up.
Okay.
So this is,
Um,
yeah, go ahead.
no, I wasn't saying anything.
You're
Go.
good. So, okay. So what I was asking you about school. Okay. So you feel like it's really it's progressive right now, right? In
Yeah,
school.
but I'm biased again.
Yes. Okay. And it's going to
Right.
depend on what part of the country you live in,
Right.
right?
And what school you're going to. Do you
Mhm.
want me to talk about my fun little experience with private school?
No, yes. Talk about whatever
Yeah.
you want.
Okay. So I was online for like 3/4 of the year this year. Anyways, about halfway through the year, I was really not thriving. You know, I was like, I want to go back to school so bad. And one of my friends had transferred to this private school. Should I say the name of the private school?
Nope, don't say it.
Okay, a undisclosed private school. Hashtag not getting sued. Um, that was going 5 days a week, full day, like they were back in school, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, dang, that looks awesome. And it is a religious school, which at the time didn't necessarily align with my personal beliefs, but I was open to it.
Yeah.
So what I did, so my mom like signed me all up, and I had to just write this little paragraph on why I thought that this school would be a good fit for me. And she was like, she was gonna go put my sister to sleep, she and my dad. And so, wait, is that correct grammar? They were gonna go put my sister to sleep. and and so she was like, just read like the website and then like type out this little paragraph. I was like, cool. So she goes downstairs and I'm reading through the website and I was like, wow, this is a very religious school. Okay, I'm open, but like, wow. And then I get to the bottom of one of the pages and it's like, marriage is between a man and a woman. We believe it's like very like detailed too. It's like to deny the gender that you were given is to like deny the image of God upon you. And I was like, wow, okay, that's like a no-go. So my
Yes.
mom comes upstairs and I was like, hey mom, I'm not going to go to this school. And she was like, why? And I was like, just read this. And she was like, that's right, you're not going to go to that school. And so, but like a ton of my friends did. So like one of the big friend groups at my school, they all transferred to this other school. And
So hard.
I'm like, okay, I really hope that none of y'all come out on the other side like crazy homophobic.
Well, I think it's really amazing that you are as grounded and awake in this whole journey. And it's even better that your parents are just so, they're just so in support of you living your truth. I mean, that is huge. I think you know that, but that
Yeah,
is huge because that doesn't always happen. And I think that, your interest to go to a school where you could be with your friends. I mean, what 13-year-old wouldn't want to do that
right.
and go back to school because everyone was sick of being
Yeah,
online learning. I mean, for you to say like those things are important, but this is more important
yeah.
is so, I might cry actually.
Aw, I know, I couldn't do it. I said, I am putting
I
my,
might, yeah, I'm tearing up right now because you, yeah, that like moves me. That really moved me.
thank you.
I mean, you have like so much conviction and I'm just so proud of you.
Yeah, it was, but then we got back to school and it was all okay. But
Yeah, but
like,
it's just so great. It's just so great. Well, you will be that person. As I said in the beginning, you're a change agent. That's what I like to call you. You will be that person that will help educate the friends that you love and that you deserve, and they deserve to have you in their lives. You will educate them if they go through that school and they, come
Come
out
out
and
on the other side.
yeah,
They're
and they don't
unique and
understand.
special.
Right, right. I mean, you will be the person that will help educate them. And,
Yeah.
the biggest thing is that everybody has their own journey that they're on, and they're here to learn the things that, in this life that they need to learn. And,
Yeah.
you can't always be the one who says, no, you have to learn this. But what you
Right.
can do is you can be, which you are, which is why I got teary eyed. You can be the beacon of light
Yeah.
that's kind of lighting the path for those who don't see the light yet.
Oh, that was so beautiful, Dawn.
Are you going to cry now?
No, I'm just happy.
I mean, it was just, I mean, you're just, yeah, you're really remarkable, Natalie. So, okay, so let's switch gears since
Okay.
we got to pull it together.
Should I
So
talk about what not to say?
yes, talk about
Okay.
that. And then what I want us to talk about is you have a friend that, is fine with you discussing this.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about kind of that whole story, which I think is great. So if the listeners right now, hopefully you took notes and you understand what all of the acronyms are within the community. And if not, go back and get a piece of paper and write all of it down.
Oh, there's one more thing I wanted to add to that whole talk about the acronyms and stuff. So a couple updated terms. So when I say a trans woman, I'm referring to someone who was assigned male at birth and then transitioned to become a woman. And when I say a trans man, I'm referring to someone who was assigned female at birth and then transitioned to become a man. Does that make sense?
It's what they actually are
Yes.
identifying with is the
Yes.
last thing that you say.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you wouldn't, but now it used to be like transgender male to female or transgender female to male. But that is just kind of like includes a reminder to them that, like, I don't know. It's like, it's better to say like a trans man or a trans woman. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And then remind me, I have a story about that, but go ahead.
Okay. And then dead name is for someone who identifies with a name that they were not assigned at birth. And so the name that they were assigned at birth that they don't feel is good for them is their dead name. And you should never call people by their dead name.
They're
Please
dead.
don't.
It's called dead name. Yes.
Yep. DEADNAME.
Got it.
Dead name.
Yep. I did know that. Well, within the LGBTQ plus community, the transgender people are the most marginalized within the community. And you probably know this statistically, and are the ones that are targeted for violence more
Yep.
than anything else, any of the
Yep.
other identifiers.
They're easy to clock, which like you can, well, not always, but like sometimes like you can't tell someone's sexual orientation by seeing them walk down the street.
Right.
But like sometimes with someone who doesn't identify with the sex they were assigned at birth, it can be a little bit easier to tell and therefore subjects them to more violence.
Exactly. I'm so glad you said it like that. And the suicide rate in that community is astronomical. I mean, I don't have the recent statistics, but when I interviewed a friend of mine who was on the show, I believe, who is a transgender male, I believe that it is like 60%.
It's like,
it's awful. And you know what? Let's just be kind.
Yeah.
Just because you don't understand
doesn't mean you can't have respect.
Can you just be kind?
Yeah.
So I'll tell you a story. I was actually with a friend, and I was like coming out of this building, and there was this transgender female that was driving this car that was driving past us.
Mm-hmm.
And the person I was with was like, oh my God, what was that? And I said, what? And she said, was that like a man dressed like a woman, but not really dressed well? Like that person definitely needed some help on how to dress. Like it was just a
Yeah.
really triggering,
Judgy.
judgy statement for me to be a
Yeah.
part of.
Yeah.
And I inside was screaming
Hmm.
and wanted to say something. But what I wanted to say was not going to come out nice.
Yeah.
In that moment, I just kind of breathed through it.
Hmm.
And I thought to myself, I'm just going to close my eyes for a second and I'm just going to give this person so much love and light for them to uncover the true issues that they have
Yeah.
that are keeping them from having a kind, compassionate, empathetic, loving heart.
Yeah.
Because me in that moment, trying to argue with them or tell them what, well, you don't understand, any of that wasn't going to work.
Right.
And so I let that moment pass. And then I later said, um, I want to just say something because I feel like maybe you're not aware of
Yeah.
the right terminology
Hmm.
when you identify with someone or when someone comes by that you don't identify with their, sexuality or gender, whatever your
Yeah.
issue is, I want to explain it to you.
Hmm.
And so it came from a place of calmness for me. But in
Yeah.
the moment, and she was much more receptive to hearing it then.
Right.
She's like, "Oh gosh, I know that didn't sound very good, did it?" I was like, "No, it did not." And you may not be my friend for much longer. But
Yeah.
I just in that moment, I was so angry, Natalie. And I've been in these moments before where someone will talk about gays or they'll say faggot or whatever. And
Yeah.
that is really triggering for me because of
Yeah.
my son, right? But I'm learning how to just kind of calm down and let's just educate them.
Yeah.
And they can choose to get on board or not.
Yep.
It's just like the Black Lives Movement. You're either
Yep.
going to seek it out and understand your white privilege, or you can just pretend like everything's just fine,
Yep. Yeah. That
right? Which is a whole
that was
other topic.
definitely a family conversation last year.
Yeah, I mean, seriously. So,
Hmm.
and not comparing, but yet it is similar
Yeah.
in what we're talking about.
There are aspects. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my little story. So,
Hmm.
just so you know, I was calm, even though I didn't want to.
I'm proud of you. That is definitely something that I will struggle with a tiny bit, you know?
You might, but you just, you know what? You just remember that story
Yep. It's
and
a good
you
story.
call me anytime if you want to
Okay.
breathe through it.
Thank you.
So
Okay.
tell me about your story
My story.
with your friend.
Oh, so I called my friend up and I said, "Hey, I'd already told her I was visiting her a little while ago, visiting with her, and I had told her I was going on a podcast, but I hadn't like asked her. I was like, I told her about it, and then later I called her up. And I was like, "Hey, would you mind if I didn't share your identity, but like I asked you a couple questions?" And she was like, "Sure." So she said, I asked her like how long. So I was just like asking her about like the coming out experience. So I
Yeah.
was like, how long was it between when you knew and when you came out? So how long were you in the closet? And this was very interesting to me. So she came out pretty soon to her friends, and it took a couple of years for her to come out to her parents. So like
Oh.
friends know like way before parents did. And even though her parents are not homophobic, it still had that aspect of fear, even in that household. It still had
Yeah.
the like, but what if? Like, what if this is not gonna turn out well?
What does
Um,
she identify as?
I didn't ask specifically, but so I don't technically know.
Mm,
But
gotta find
I
that out.
think she identifies with the gender she was assigned at birth, or the
Okay.
sex she was assigned at birth.
Okay.
So yeah. But like, yeah, it's still scary to come out. So I asked her what it was like to be closeted and like how that impacted her mental health. And she was like, it was really bad. It was like definitely not a good place to
Anxiety
be.
wise, or
And depression. Yeah, anxiety and depression got super bad. And it just was like very bad. And because like hiding something, it's a really big part of yourself to hide. And it was not very good at all. She described it as like being kind of like very restricting and binding because you can't really be authentic around someone who
mm,
you can't share that part of yourself with.
yeah.
And
I think
it was
so.
very bad.
Is she your age?
Yeah, well, no, she's a couple years older than me, but I feel like I don't know, people say I'm very mature. I tend to kind of fall towards an older crowd.
Yes, I think you do.
um so when she came out to her parents, it was awesome because it was super helpful to have people be like, it's okay, like, don't worry, we got you, we accept you, it's,
So
it's okay.
her parents were accepting.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
That's great. So great.
Yeah. So now she feels just more like open and like able to pursue what she's interested in and like what she's passionate about. Just more open and less like bound, you know?
Yes. I love that.
And then I also asked her, which might be even more helpful to listeners, what can someone whose friend is coming out, like how can they help their friend who's going to come out, going to
Gosh,
come out?
great question.
Thank you. So if it's so she said it depends on their support system. So if they're coming out to like other friends, so just try to be as supportive and encouraging as possible, and just be there for them. And if like the friends that they're coming out to react badly, cut them off. Like those people are not good people. And if you continue to be friends with the people who aren't accepting towards them, you're like, it's not a good look, sweetie.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, exactly.
so, but if it's their parents, so if they're coming out to their parents, regardless of how you think it's gonna go, so even if you're pretty sure it's gonna go well, offer them a place to stay because they might need that.
Hmm.
And if they're still dependents, obviously, if they're like 25, you don't need to do that.
Yeah.
But just be as encouraging and supportive as you can be.
Wow. Have you had a lot of friends come out to you?
Not to me personally. I've had a couple friends come out to me, but not a ton.
Yeah, because you would be such a safe space for so many people to do that with.
Yeah.
Do you like help your friends um create a safe space for their friends? Like are you kind of, I feel like you're kind of like the leader of the pack in that group, whatever group.
I wouldn't necessarily say that I do that because I mean my social situation has been totally messed up throughout the last year and a half, obviously.
Yeah, right.
Um, but I try my best to just educate people. I'm an educator at heart. Then just like you just tell people how they can be good. But again, I am straight cis. I can't speak from my own experiences. I can only speak from what I know, and what I
Yeah.
know is not personal. It's not a personal experience. So
Yeah.
does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Right. Well, that's good. So she gave you some really good things for
She did.
people to think about.
Thanks, girl. You know who you are.
Yeah, totally. So I mean, when I asked you to do this and you were like, yes, I want to do it. I mean, did you feel like at the end of this podcast, you had a specific message that you really wanted to make sure that people heard and understood?
Just address people with respect and kindness. That's it.
Yeah.
Like, if you are unsure still, even after being educated, that's okay. Don't worry. If you still make mistakes, that's okay. Don't worry. As long as you come from a place with a respectful intention and you disclose to the person that you are sorry that you messed up or that you're unsure of how to go about the situation, that's okay.
Yes. Instead of, just saying, oh
Don't
gosh,
be ignorant.
yeah, it's so hard. I can't learn it all. It's just too many
Yeah.
names and things. And I don't know
Yeah.
how I'm supposed to address. Right.
Yeah.
So just be open to saying, I'm sorry. I think I misgendered you, or
Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
I'm sorry. Like, um, do we want to talk about a couple things that are no-nos to say?
Yes, we're definitely going to talk about that. Let's do it.
Okay, so this one's kind of easy to understand why it's bad is don't misgender people or use their dead name. A lot of people like to do this, and it's really dehumanizing and really disrespectful to a person when they have clearly disclosed their identity and their preferred name and pronouns, and you continue. It's okay if you make a mistake, as long as you come from a good place of heart. If you
Yes.
make a mistake and you apologize for it, that's okay. Most people are not going to like break out, but if you continuously come from a place of ignorance and self-importance and being like, well, I don't get it and I don't want to do that, so I'm not gonna do that.
Yes. There is a lot of that out there.
A lot.
There is.
And you just come from a place of disrespect. Just don't do that. It's so mean. Like, imagine that you're that person. Use empathy, okay?
Yes.
Exercise kindness and empathy and be like, if I was that person, that would really suck.
Yeah.
So maybe I won't do that. Yeah. And if you do mess up, like I said, that's totally okay. Mistakes are what's going to happen. Just apologize and then correct yourself and move on and read the room. If they're like fine with it, then cool, move on. If they're like having a hard time, just make sure they know that you're trying to respect them, you're doing your best. Do not say gays, transgenders, etc.
Yep.
Instead, if you say a gay person, or even better, a person who is gay, and that puts the person first.
Got it.
Because then you're saying you are a person and this is a part of you, but it does not define you. When you say like gays or transgenders or lesbians or like etc., you're saying this is, you are this and you are nothing else, you know, like that's it, that's all, that completely envelops yourself, which isn't true.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense.
But when you say like a person who is gay, it's like that's just a little bit of you, if that makes sense. Okay. But you can still like gay people, transgender people. Those are the two words I'm using. Non-binary people. There are more. But like you can use that and it just is more respectful.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I'm so glad you said that because it's easy to make those mistakes.
Mm-hmm. And then this one is specific to people who are in homosexual relationships. When you're talking to someone who's in a homosexual relationship, do not ask, so who's the boy and who's the girl?
Oh my gosh. Do people still
do
ask
not
that?
understand? No, that's a real thing. The whole point is that they're the same gender. That's like the whole thing. Yeah, don't ask that.
Oh my gosh. I didn't even know people were still doing that.
Yeah, no, that's a real thing.
Okay.
And then, yeah, just generally exercise empathy and kindness and respect. Just,
yeah, absolutely. Do you find that people who are really kind of hung up in this cycle of just not understanding and not wanting to get on board, is there a certain demographic? Is it mostly an older generation? Or
no,
you said
I'd say it's everyone. I mean, it also depends on the part of the country and the world that you live in. But like, there are people who are my age, who are like, I'm not gonna do that because it doesn't align with my beliefs.
Yes.
Which I think is the most selfish statement. It's like,
yeah.
Oh my gosh, I had the funniest thing that I saw on Instagram the other day, and it was like being mad at someone for like being mad at someone for being gay because it's against your religion is the same as being mad at someone for eating a donut because you're on a diet. And I was like, yes, it's so true. Like,
you saw that on Instagram? I love it.
I did. I put it on my story. It was really funny.
I mean, this has just been so informative. And you've done such a great job explaining everything.
Thank you.
Do you feel like we missed anything we should talk about?
I feel like we got through it all.
I think we covered everything. We covered everything on your list. We brought a lot of, I guess, education to the table, compassion. And I feel like we've kind of bridged the gap in terms of the separateness that gets tied to all of this, right? And and the shame. And I think there are in this country, as you are well aware, like we have such a broken mental health system, and there are so many people that could avoid having, you know,
Yeah.
mental health issues that they are, that are perpetuated by just accepting
Hmm.
those that are different in your mind
Yeah.
from you.
Oh yeah, that was another thing I wanted to do. Comparing which they're not the same thing, but I'm comparing them. The closet experience to toxic masculinity. If you're
Yes.
not aware of toxic masculinity, it is a thing where the idea like that we like to push on people, which is like boys don't cry, like boys are tough, don't play with dolls, go outside and touch the dirt or something. I don't know. But like the idea like to suppress your emotion and to suppress like yourself, which in toxic masculinity often releases itself in anger, and addiction sometimes,
Yeah.
which is theorized but not necessarily proven to be the reason that men live shorter lives, is because of the stress that they are put under to suppress their emotions,
Yeah.
um, which is somewhat similar in certain aspects to the closet experience, where you have to suppress a part of yourself and like not
Yeah.
live your authentic life.
Wow. I'm really glad you brought that up because that is something like I remember in the beginning when Cole, I mean, I knew that Cole was gay. He was going to be a, you know, a gay man. See how I just did that?
Yeah.
Um, like 4 years old,
Yeah.
right? And it's just funny because I remember his dad saying to me, like, don't let him play with Barbie dolls. Why are you letting him play with these dolls? Why are you letting him dress up? I mean, he would love to get into my clothes and dress up,
Yeah.
and he just thought it was so fun. It would bring so much joy to his face, and
Yeah.
his dad was horrified. And unfortunately, that is felt from a very young age,
Yeah.
and I know that he felt it. Cole told me because there was a time when his dad was really questioning, like, "Are you sure? Are you sure you're gay?" Because I feel like, you were raised by your mom, single mom, because we were divorced at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
And she was like letting you wear her clothes, and things like he would say
Yeah.
stupid things like that.
Yeah.
And Cole told me about it later. He's like, "Mom,
Yeah.
I know that dad doesn't understand. Like he's still holding out hope that I'm not gay." So, I mean, I'm so glad you brought it up, and I didn't even know that that was like an actual thing,
Yeah.
that it was given a name.
Yeah. Wait, what was
The toxic
toxic masculinity?
well, yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
I know. It's crazy.
You just taught me something.
I
Well,
did.
you've taught me a few things, but I'm just so proud of you. I'm so glad that you came on. This was really helpful, and I feel like I got educated. I think other people probably got educated. Natalie, I think you're going to do really great things in this life.
Aw.
I do. I really do. I mean, if you choose to go down the actress path, you'll be fabulous. But I just want to say selfishly that I think I will see you, and I would like to see you doing something with people, helping them,
Yes.
because I think
Okay.
that's a gift. It's a calling and a gift,
Yes, it
and
is.
I think you have the gift. You just do, you know.
Thank you.
And you're such a good role model for your daughter, for your
My
sister,
daughter.
for your sister,
I
right?
hope so.
You're such a good role model for your sister. You feel
Thank
like you are?
you. I
Yeah.
think so. She's pretty solid by herself though.
She is. She's how much younger than you? I forget.
2 years. Well,
Yeah,
she's 11. Well,
11.
she's turning 11 in like a month, and I'm 13.
Mhm.
So that I don't really feel like doing math. It's the summer.
Yeah. Well, I think you've done a great job kind of educating everybody in the house, outside of the house. And I'm just honored and so blessed
Aw, I'm honored.
to have you on
Aw,
the show. And you made me cry, but I'm a crier.
yeah.
So
Me
you probably
too.
know that. Oh, you are too?
A little bit sometimes.
Well, your parents will be very proud of you. You did a great
Mhm.
job, and
Thank
I
you.
love you so much.
I love you too.
And we just got to get the word out, and I think we did a
Yep.
great job of it.
Thanks for listening.